Okay, so I'm excited to talk to you today. Um, can you tell me where your creative journey began?
Yeah. So I started my creative journey during 2020. I recently just graduated from college, and I had about 3 months before my first job started. And I was moving down to from DC down to Virginia Beach, and I really wanted to make sure I could just decorate my apartment because I was just trying to beat the bachelor pad allegations. Just a couch and a PS5. I wanted stuff here, and I got inclined to at least make memorabilia for at least my spot because I miss DC, my home, and so I decided to come up with this big, large art poster where just of elements of things that I've done in DC, where I'm just taking apart like I'm redrawing the U.S. Capitol or the pizza spot that I used to eat at all the time with my friends, or where I did robotics at, and I just kind of collage this all together to just be this nice 4 foot by 3 foot um, digital painting I did. But then I turned it into a wall piece in itself, and that was honestly the first of what I thought it was gonna be first and last, but it just turned out to be more of a venture for me. I started treating it like more of a video game where I just wanted to fill up that piece of the wall with just more and more art pieces by myself and the fun things I thought about. And then, yeah, we just kept going from here 5 years later. So,
Can you tell me how you select a story or an emotion that you want to paint?
yeah, I often think in direction. So, I would take probably a static point of, let's just say, an emotion, like if an impact that happens, like if you were to, I don't know, if you were to react to a sudden change, are you going to get very angry or are you going to get very happy? And I wanted to paint both those directions. I wanted to see what it looked like in the happiest situation or what it looked like an angry situation, and keep navigating myself through that. I think the scariest thing about not scary, the challenging thing about being an artist is you don't get the luxury of a linear storytelling. Uh, Everything's on one frame. So your end and your beginning is on the same frame. You have to make sure if you want to tell a proper story, have your eye navigate through the frame properly. And I definitely learned that through consistent characters or the direction of the painting. Everybody looks at the center first or the brightest thing on the painting, and then you eventually want that person to follow their eyes through the rest of the painting itself. I studied it. I was very fascinated by this painting, Death of Plato, where it just showed like a Plato or the death of Socrates, where it shows Socrates announcing that he is about to die, and all of his friends are like, "Oh no, my God, I can't believe this is happening." And that's all like happening on one side of the frame, and then on the left side of the frame is this old man who is just laying there, completely outside. He's not looking at any of the characters, right? And then you're learning that this is actually the painting is actually a memory, where this old man is remembering how Socrates told Socrates' last words before he died, and you get to understand there's like he serves as the beginning of the painting, and everything behind him serves as the memory of the painting. And I think I really liked how that direction could go, and that's why I try to pour into my work as much as I possibly can. You know.
Does it always come out exactly how you have it in your mind, or do you think that there is a difference when you start putting it on paper?
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah, no, I constantly find myself anxious about the direction I'm going. You you naturally get it. You don't often think about it, but artists really have to be decision makers a lot of times, and we have to make some choices that we ultimately might think like, oh, we might go 20 or 30 hours down this path of painting this, and we might deeply regret it, and we have to either go back or just keep trudging forward. So especially with the weight of like doing like a larger canvas, and I had times and moments where I did like a 3 foot by 4 foot painting, and I just knew I had to restart the whole thing. After I'm already like, you know, I've already probably spent like 4 or 5 paint tubes on it, just going at it and for 3 or 4 weekends at the time. But the biggest process is just really just you have to you do have to trust like the ugly phase though. I never try to back out during the ugly phase. I just try and make sure I can refine everything that's good to the skill level I am. And then at that point, if I don't like it, then I start reworking things.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, that's good to know because I'm like, sometimes I'll have something in my mind and I'm like, oh, does not look like how I imagined.
I think the first 2 or 3 years was art, especially because I was like really still learning how to draw. Like, nothing that came up in my mind ever came to what the painting was. I had to take the necessary like not shortcuts, but more so of like I had to simplify it to a point so I can make it possible for me to draw and not take like umpteenth hours trying to figure out how to reinvent the wheel to paint this thing, you know. Yeah. But I do say when it comes to a lot of the creative process itself, we we consistently there's some ideas that do kind of really hit you like a freight train where you might just have the full image in your head. Right. I but for me that's speaking personally like only maybe 30% of the time. The other 70%, some things look completely different how they started to what they end up as.
Gotcha. I know you also have a day job. You work as engineer, mechanical engineer. Yeah. Do you think that influences your work or your art? Because I do see a lot of shapes in your artwork. So I wonder if there's that intersect there.
Yeah, I love geometry. I mean, so straight lines is always going to play a part in my work. Precise measurements. I love to think of how photographers do framing or rule of thirds. The same way I try to go about the layout of my work itself, because yeah, what's the other one? The Fibonacci circle. Where just certain layouts look really good to the eye, and it's based off a precise measurement, and that's what I lend myself to a lot. Cubism, to me, isn't exactly engineering, but there's something. It's art. Engineering is problem solving, and art is a lot of problems that need to be solved. Uh, and when it comes for me in situations where I'm just like, oh, I have this very dark subject, um, not maybe in subject wise, but more so of like the lighting itself looks like it's pitch black. Like, how am I going to show just enough detail in this one section here? Or how am I going to express like a certain motion of a character, like making it look like it's falling if the painting is going to be inherently still? Wow. There's many elements to kind of play with. And engineering kind of adds that in, was just like, okay, let's keep it simple. Let's make our list of inputs and then make of outputs. I want to include the color red, shapes that harken back to other paintings, and I want to pay homage to like modern contemporary like music, as well as also like maybe griots, the West African culture of like storytellers, and just like those are my inputs, and I'm just trying to put them in a rubric where I'm trying to maximize. Maybe it doesn't take too much to show the color red. Maybe it doesn't take too much to show like a modern influence, and I'm balancing that as much as I possibly can to come with the concept that best fits the story that I'm trying to tell with the painting,
Yeah. Okay, so I want your secret to how you balance your job and your creative life.
Got you. So I definitely did art and publicizing my art at the same time. So same time became an artist. At the same time I started posting on social media. So those do go hand in hand for me when it comes to my creative process. But my routine goes is sketch in the morning, from maybe like 8 to 9. Then we're going to work from 9 to 5. Don't tell nobody now. During my job, is I'm either jotting down a couple bullet points ideas, a couple of items that I really need to bullet point ideas of like, oh, this is to be very fun to paint, or I'll be organizing the things I need to paint once immediately when I get home. And then when I get home, I just fight the magnetism that is my bed, uh, and try to pull myself into the creative space. So uh, iPad is pretty easy. I just to kind of jump into things. The blue light from the iPad really wakes you up. Anybody that's on a TV screen or staring at something, typically waking up by that. Then go into painting from about 6 to 9, and then after 9 o'clock, I usually get pretty tired, so I just edit videos that I am content that I'm going to post on Instagram or things that's going to go up on my website for that later half of things. And that's like my ideal productive day. That does not happen every day. I will never advertise that. But it's ideally what I like to do. And I think that also the last core element of that is just the fact that you have to really play the game of inches. Like you're doing a 9 to 5. You have 40 hours a day like taken away. Well, taken away with excuse of a paycheck. But you have to also just say that maybe I'm only doing like 2%, like maybe I'm only making small progress on Tuesday, and Wednesday and Thursday. Like that all counts. You don't discourage yourself from the small progress that you're making. Like that is, if you keep that racking it up for a whole year, that's exactly what created this whole giant body of work from it. And on top of just being a weekend warrior, like when it came to weekends, 3-day weekends were my golden spot. Like I'm just at my studio or at my mom's garage, just painting the days away or something like that. Just check clocking into work that I really, really want to do.
It's so clear that you love it, because if you didn't, then you wouldn't be spending these hours and this time and like the dedication that it takes to create these pieces. How long does it take you usually to create a piece, or does it depend on the work that you're doing?
Okay, so I think I might have to average around at this point a month timeline for a painting. Typically because I'll just leave it somewhere for a couple of days, couple of weeks, and come back to it. Timeline to actually paint it itself might be only no less than like 20, 30 hours per painting, But there's definitely been some that are much shorter. I have paintings I made in, 2 or 3 days total, if the idea just comes fast enough. But there's other paintings that took me a year, to finish, just because either the idea took too long to get there, or honestly, in my case, I had a very giant painting that was 9 feet, and that just took forever to go after. Yeah.
We don't talk about how many hours it took for us to come up with the idea and like the vision to create that painting. So I think it's something that we should, as artists, factor in a little bit more, maybe.
Yeah, definitely how you want to price your work or how you value your own work. I mean, everything is like, I know sometimes we get the stigma as an artist to be very laissez-faire and maybe, like, oh, we're just doing what we want to do. But I mean, art is decision making, as I said before. And especially if you think about like in a chess tournament, like a chess master, grandmaster would burn 9,000 calories playing a game of chess. And if you think about chess as just a series of decision makings where the consequences could be, you're not winning that grand prize of $5,000, right? We can make paintings that legit could change our careers or change the trajectory of our careers that we could eventually sell for $5,000, $10,000, $20,000. And we're making these tiny micro decisions with the paint strokes and the colors and all of that. It becomes a very mentally tasking, where it's obviously we don't give the same level of credit across the board between chess master and grandmaster and somebody that's painting a masterpiece or something like that. But the intensity is there.
I think you said something really interesting there, that it's about making decisions.
Yeah.
How are you at that? Like, are you taking your time in making like decisions, or are you like instantly, like, do you instantly know it's the right decision?
I I would say I do get the benefit of my instincts. So I would say 70% of the time I'm trusting my first decision. Um, and I'll keep working with that decision until I get with the that second thought is like I completely hate this. I sometimes like I have to be impulsive because the further I can work towards something that I don't want to look like is the fastest I can get to something I do want to look like, you know. And my whole idea is just like go fast. You have an iPad, you know, you can sketch, you can undo things pretty quickly, you know, before you get to the canvas. And yeah, that's how I at least embrace my decisions. And I love the luxury to think of like as artists, we're not only limited to maybe like it's not like we can only make 100 art pieces ever in our life. You know, we can keep going. So I am just making is I made so many dumb decisions with so many of my art pieces that might not see the light of day. But I got the luxury to learn from those lessons of why those decisions were dumb and kept it going and going and going to getting a little bit better with those decisions as I do now with the paintings I make.
Yeah. Did you ever have a moment where you were like, I don't like this painting? Because I feel like as artists, we can be such hard critics of our own work. Like, have you ever put out something that you're like, I don't love this?
Oh yeah, yeah. Let's say there's a fun one right here. Let me pick from my wall. Um, I guess I felt so. This painting I did right. Um, it was a part of a series, and I think when I posted it, I just didn't feel like it got the same reception that I thought I was going to get. You know, it was relative to the time. May have like 200 followers at the time, and I think I got usually I was averaging like 30, 40 likes, and this one I got 10. You know, and it did affect me to the point where I was like, damn, do I guess I didn't really do that good on it and stuff like that. It doesn't really work. And I was kind of, that imposed me more critical on it. Um, Later on, it became important to me. But afterwards, I learned the fact that it was when I started bringing that art piece out in public to people, they all loved it. You know, they had a good time. And I think that was kind of like ultimately the lesson I had to learn with myself is just like, it does it. Like social media is nice, love it, glad I got to a point now where you know great people like you guys, you are interviewing me and stuff like that from the success I could make from social media. But at the same time, it is not my ultimate, you know, happiness or decision maker when it comes to my work. Not to twist the question, I do ultimately feel like some pieces I make, I feel like maybe they didn't turn out too well, you know, but I think it's up to the people that look at it at that point, the people you give it to. That's their decision, you know. Like I just at least got to put the idea out there, and that idea might have been just great because it was probably the prototype to what the best painting I made, you know, could be. So
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I mean, it's hard with social media sometimes because it's like, it's great, but then it's also, you can't really get a true measurement because you don't even know who's viewing it. Like, it's like, it's about the reach, you know what I mean? Whereas, like, when you're in person and it's a real human being that you can see, that can, like, show you if they like the work or not. Like, I think, you know, so it's hard to compare with social media sometimes, but I understand that too because I also sometimes are like, what's going on here?
yeah, I was like, I thought I did everything right. This I'm looking nice. I had the good painting. I thought it was a good painting, you know. But yeah, you're right. It's the most important person that should like the painting and social media is yourself, you know. And yeah, that's what I learned very quickly and what kind of kept me making work and showing it is just the fact that like it's a cool idea to me, you know. Yeah.
I know you said your grandma was a painter.
Yes.
Were you making art when you were young, or because you're very
Nothing
skilled?
like
So I'm just curious. Like, did you have like some training in that, or?
I mean, I took the mandated art classes from like K through 12, but my high school was dedicated towards was Project Lead the Way, which was engineering focused. So I took a lot more engineering classes. But design is still an element in engineering. So I learned my isometric sketching, orthographics, and perspective. You know, and I also did doodle a lot when I was a kid with my journals, but not in the fashion of like, oh, let me go hang this on the wall. It was just fun things to do in between the margins of my notebook. Um, my grandma, it was the first time I saw somebody painting, but I never thought about picking up the paintbrush. Honestly, I just thought it looked cool. I just liked the smooth texture of the oil paint, and I was 5 or 6 at the time, But fast forward into 2020, when I just wanted to take an act of memory, and I just thought that would be something pretty good to pick up. And I mean, I'm very grateful I did, because it honestly is in a very, very like noisy part of the times of our world. It's very nice to have something that can keep you quiet, you know, keep your mind still. So
Yeah, definitely. And you're really good. So I hope that you continue on, and I'm excited to see like what else, what other stuff you create. Okay, so talk to me a little bit about the wall series. Like, I know you started with the concept of doing a wall for your own home. How did it like expand to more than that, where you're like, wait, actually that's a cool concept and I want to continue this?
yeah, nah. When I first made the Instagram profile, I just kind of got self conscious of myself. I was like, I I wonder if anybody's just gonna follow me just to look at my art, So I wanted to give a sense of narrative, where I can start with a completely blank wall and then piece by piece fill it up with artwork, and it gives people a sense of like completion if they follow me. If like they follow me from the beginning, they can see how far I grew to. And I just like that theory. I love the art wall in general. I just think it's very impressive to put a collection of your work, kind of stand behind you like this. I feel powerful even right now with all the work. So, yeah, that was the majority of inspiration.
I know this started off as a hobby for you, but has that changed for you now at this point?
Almost definitely. Yeah, I think it was something that clicked to me, especially when I started doing shows and getting opportunities. Like I had, I got to do a sip and paint out in Barcelona, Spain. I got to have my artwork on stage for sold out crowds. I had to do a mural in the same place I came from. I used to walk past a high school. Like there's just so many times when it came to art, there was just like it never. There's just no such thing as I can't when it came to this endeavor. When it came to me, it's like I know I love making work. I know I love making paintings. I can keep going these opportunities. I got a long lifespan ahead of me, Hopefully, knock on wood here. But like I just felt really enabled to do as much as I want to, I came from the idea of like writing now it would be cool to have 50 people at my first like solo show, and then by the time the show came there was 200, and then I thought then I had a solo exhibition the year after that was like a month long. It just I'm definitely a victim of the success that came around, but it's like at the same time it keeps me very inspired to like keep pushing the edge and just kind of see how far this imagination takes me, you know.
That's sick. So, what do you think the next few years look like for you, or what do you want it to look like with your art?
With my art, I would like to become a local legend. DC is my home. I love it very dearly. I would love to have 5, 10 to 20 murals in the city. I would love to start organizing more comprehensive events, not only just for myself as a solo exhibitionist, but maybe group shows as well. And I also would like to really cultivate a space similar to how we view New York or Miami, is just the aspect of creating a fine art culture, you know, inviting enough to the public, but also art that is at a certain level where it's introduction to maybe it's like if a kid from the '90s got to actually run into like I don't know Basquiat or something like that. It's just like you. I would love the opportunity to create a culture where people can really go out and see art, you know, and enjoy that presence because it's like it's also like if you think about it, it's just a really cool place to be. You have this natural icebreaker, which is the art itself, and you're surrounded by maybe 100 people that are young and old and come from different lives and perspectives that can all kind of come and collaborate and talk to random people about art. And it doesn't have to be very loud like a club. It doesn't have to be you don't have to pay like $100 for at a restaurant for it. It's you or often they give you like wine for free if you're of age, you know. And I think I like that community event, that community aspect, the vehicle that could possibly bring more people together.
Okay, and then lastly, do you have a message or something for someone that would inspire them to continue doing their work or continue to creating art or just like a message in general for the creative community?
Yeah, I say the biggest message I would love to say is just, especially for somebody that's just starting out and that may not have a lot to work with or they don't have a lot of accolades in their pockets just yet. I'm saying that is so much of a blessing than you actually think. Like there's a blessing for being unknown. There's a blessing for having no expectations on you because you're not letting anybody down. You're not being perceived as falling off. You're just experimenting. You have to take this time, experiment as much as you possibly can. And then once you are battle tested and you're putting stuff out in your world and stuff like that, when that success eventually does come for you, you are so much more prepared than trying to hope for these singular lottery tickets. You know, I hope nobody succeeds like very quickly. You know, I think it's a lot better to like slowly come up the hill as opposed to being brought to the top because you don't know really what brought you to that top. It could be the whim of the algorithm. It could be, you know, that one famous person saw your work and like because it had the color pink in the purse or something like that. It's you want to have a nice solid foundation. Grow in this space as much as you possibly can. Test out your infrastructure. As an artist speaking, build your website. Understand how you're about to ship out your products, which is your art piece itself, and regulate your workflow. You know, you're going to, at the end of the day, art is definitely a project. And if you want to make a lot of art pieces, you're going to have to make a project sheet. You're going to make a timeline, my guy, about like, I need to finish these 4 paintings by quarter 4. You have to get yourself regulated to the work that is art or work that is your passion. You know, the faster you can do that, I think you're going to be so much more successful later on.